Hey you guys, I am NanoMango, and welcome to another episode of Storytime. Now, I wouldn't make so many episodes right in a row. I'd normally space them out every couple days. However, I am having some trouble with my camera, so unfortunately I can't do the normal videos, so this is just going to have to do for now. Don't worry, this is only a temporary thing, so if you're a big fan of the other ones, this is not going to be forever. This is just a temporary thing. So, the topic of today is triathlon training mishap, a single one. There's been more than one, but this is the most significant one pretty much of my entire training career. So, I was living in the wonderful country of Thailand with my family from the age of about 14 onwards for a couple years, and when I was around that age, I wasn't extremely fit. I was a stick-thin kid, so I thought that maybe taking the conditioning course that was offered in 9th grade would help me out, and it ended up helping me out a lot. But what I really wanted to do was actually get into a sport that I liked. I was on the swim team, but I knew it wasn't my strong suit, and I had been running with the conditioning course for a while. And when I heard that the conditioning class actually had a triathlon team, I was really excited to join. So I asked, and they let me join, and we started training together every single day except for once a week where we took off. We started running normal routes around the neighborhood and swimming at the school, and about twice a week we would ride our bikes. The normal bicycle routes were on 3 different mountains that were in the area in Chiang Mai, Thailand. The first mountain was called Doi Kham. It was a pretty small mountain. You could probably ride up it in about 10 minutes. The second mountain was Krisada Doi, which you could ride up in probably like 40 minutes to an hour, I think. Most of it was flat up until the actual mountain. But the most interesting mountain that I actually never went on with that group until very, very, very late in my triathlon career was called Doi Suthep, which is a very, very well-known mountain in the area. There's a temple on the top. But I think it took about 3 hours to ride up, and the first time was awesome. But later on, I ended up riding by myself and with a family friend. Now, the specific time that I'm talking about is when I was going with just this one family friend. We rode up the mountain together. We took a really long time doing it, but it was really fun and great exercise. I know I'm so weird for actually liking exercise, but hear me out on this. It was really fun. We rode all the way up to the top, and we prepared to go down the mountain. Now, the family friend was like, "Hey, dude, do you want me to go down after you, just in case you get in an accident or something, so that we have help?" And I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm not going to crash." And so he goes down, and I wait like 5-10 minutes, and then I'm like, "Alright, it's time to go," because I was just resting, grabbed a drink of water and stuff. And so I start my way down the mountain. Now, these mountains are really steep. It took 3 hours to get to the top. You can see the top of the mountain, like you can see the temple from where we lived. Well, you could see it from pretty much anywhere in the city. So it was very steep. It wasn't extraordinarily high, so it would just take a really long time in first gear. So going down the mountain was really fun, but it was pretty fast and pretty dangerous, which leads to the next part of the story. I'm traveling down this mountain at probably 60 kilometers an hour, which is probably around 40 miles an hour, around there. I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't keeping an eye on my speedometer that much on my bicycle, but I'm just cruising down this mountain. Now, on the left side, because you're driving on the left side of the road, so this is what you're watching out for, there's no guardrail, because at this point, that's where I was riding, with the mountain on my left, and there was a big drainage ditch. Now, this thing was not just a ditch, it was made out of cement, and it was probably a few feet deep and a couple, well, like 4 feet wide, I'd say. It might be smaller than that in, like, now that, if I saw it now, but it definitely felt that big then. Anyway, it could definitely fit my entire body. So, you're kind of keeping an eye on that, trying not to, fall into it if you understeer on a turn. However, it mostly was out of sight, out of mind, until I hit a bump. And what it did, this bump turned my front wheel to the left, and so I was heading straight towards the drain ditch. Now, normally you could just turn right. However, in front of me was a huge, super sharp right turn, and I could not turn in time. So I knew in that instant, if I continued sitting on my bicycle, I was going into the ditch, and I'd probably at least break an arm, maybe crack my skull, maybe die. So I was very, very scared at that instant, and I decided that it was a better idea to bail off the bike and use my body to slow myself down instead of trying to stop using the bike's brakes and crash into the ditch. So I leaned on the bike and bailed off as the bike slid into the ditch. Now, the bike did get a little bit damaged. I think one of the brake handles got bent, but nothing else serious happened. I got up, checked on the bike, it was fine, but then I looked at my arm and my knee. Now, my right arm, halfway down the arm, had a big gash in it. It was more like road rash, but it was bleeding pretty bad. But my knee was the worst. It was about a centimeter deep. There was a hole, and there was some gravel and crap in it. It was really gross. I won't get into much detail because I know that there are some squeamish people out there. I am certainly one of them. Anyway, so I rode the rest of the way down the mountain and met up with the family friend, and he felt super bad. He's like, "Oh man, I knew I should have gone after you." I'm like, "No, it's fine. There was no way I could have known that I was going to crash." I was a really experienced cyclist, but unfortunately this happened to me. So we made it back to where my dad was working, and he stopped working. He came and looked at me. He's like, "Dude, you need to go to the hospital." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not getting stitches. There's no way. I am not." I was terrified of needles and stitches and everything. I just did not want anything to do with that. And he's like, "No, dude, you gotta go get some stitches. We can't just bandage this." And I'm like, "Oh, gosh, dang it." So we went to the hospital, and long story short, I ended up getting 14 stitches in my knee. Now, my dad said that the gash was only big enough for like 7, and he watched the whole thing, so I trust him on that. But apparently I got 14. Unfortunately, they were not stitches that dissolved. I found out later that that was an option, and I was actually kind of frustrated because I had to get them removed, which is entirely another story. However, so that is my experience with bicycle riding for training, for triathlons. I have stories of actual triathlon events. If you guys want to hear them, you can let me know. But that's my story. I'm all out of time for this story today, so I hope you guys liked it, and I will get right back to the original scheduled content as soon as I've got the camera thing figured out. So thank you so much for watching this episode. If you liked it, please do leave a like, and I will see all of you guys in the next one. Goodbye.